You know, sometimes whenever we read the Word of God or Christian biography, or we think about what it means to be a great man or woman of God, we think about some of the great heroes of the faith, maybe people like Abraham or David or Elijah or the Apostle Paul, or some of the famous missionaries in a bygone generation. And we think that the best Christians are the most well-known Christians and the one who look the most successful. And while we do not despise that and we rejoice in that, we often forget that there are many unsung heroes of the faith that are often forgotten or bypassed or unknown. And I was just reading recently in the Word of God in 2 Samuel chapter 15, a difficult time in the life of King David. There was a rebellion against the king that came from within his own family. His son, Absalom, who was known for his beauty, for his charismatic personality, for his leadership skills, for his popularity, was drawing a people away from David. And David was greatly discouraged, and David had to flee. But in that account in 2 Samuel 15, we read about a man called Ittai. He was from the nation of the Philistines. He had come to know David in previous years and proved to be very, very faithful even at this juncture in David's life. You've maybe never thought about this man before. You've maybe never heard about him before, but every single one of us can replicate the heart that this individual displayed towards his king. I'm just going to read a few verses, 2 Samuel 15 and verse number 19. Then the king said to Ittai the Gittite, "Wherefore goest thou also with us? Return to thy place and abide with the king, for thou art a stranger and also an exile. Whereas thou camest but yesterday, should I this day make thee go up and down with us, seeing I go whither I may? Return thou and take back thy brethren, mercy and truth be with thee." And here's the answer that this man gives regarding King David. Verse 21, 2 Samuel 15, "And Ittai answered the king and said, As the Lord liveth, and as surely as my lord the king liveth, surely in what place my lord the king shall be, whether in death or life, even there also will thy servant be. And David said to Ittai, Go and pass over. And Ittai the Gittite passed over, and all his men and all his little ones that were with him. And all the country wept with a loud voice, and all the people passed over. The king also himself passed over the brook Kidron, and all the people passed over toward the way of the wilderness." And this man, Ittai the Gittite, was a Philistine. He had come to know David through a strange course of events in months previous. And now that David's life is under threat and David has to flee, this man says to David, "I want to go with you." And David graciously says to him, "Well, why would you want to go with us? Keep yourself safe and go back to where you've come from." And Ittai the Gittite shows his heart is for the king, his heart is with the king, and he wants to be with the king in life or in death. As the Lord liveth. This is a solemn thing that he's saying. As the Lord liveth, and as my lord the king liveth, surely in what place my lord the king shall be, whether in death or life, even there also will thy servant be. Now, we don't know much about this individual other than that he was displaying absolute faithfulness to the king. Multitudes in Israel had departed from David, had gone the way of popularity, had followed after Absalom, and it wasn't popular now to follow the king. David's popularity had decreased. David, of course, is a type of Christ, and Christ came to his own. And then there came a juncture in the Lord's ministry where many of his disciples went back and walked no longer with him. But there's always that faithful few, and Ittai was one of them. We don't read about his gift, his talent, his ability, his intellect, his financial status. All we know, this man was an outsider, outside the Commonwealth of Israel, had come to know David personally, loved David, trusts David, wants to serve David, whether that means living or dying. He wants to be in the presence of David, faithful right until the end. It's often said God does not call us to be successful. He only calls us to be faithful. And while a world, even in the evangelical church, seems to be turning away from the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and many are going back and many are turning to the Absaloms of this world, the things that are attractive and popular and appealing to the flesh, and maybe not that many are really wanting to go through with God here in the West, let's be like Ittai the Gittite and be faithful and tell our King that we love him and we want to be with him, whether in life or in death, and take that place of humble service. And Ittai went on and went through for the King. May God help us to do the same. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.